Have you ever wanted to try Tails, but didn't want to find a system or use a spare computer to install it? Have you ever thought about virtualizing Tails on Proxmox? Well, this tutorial is for you. I'm going to show you how to virtualize an ISO of Tails on your Proxmox virtualization server. Tails on your Proxmox server is going to be access your Proxmox server's web interface. I'm not going to show you how to do that. I'm assuming if you run Proxmox and know what it is, you understand how to access the web interface of your Proxmox server. Here's my web interface for a Proxmox server that I use for doing home labs and other testing. Um, so the first step is going to be to visit the Tails website, and you're going to browse to the Get Tails section of this website, and you want to scroll down to the bottom of the page, and you want to click on For Virtual Machines ISO Image. After you click on that, you're presented with two different ways of downloading Tails. Now, I already have Tails downloaded, so I am not going to download this now. Now, going back over to our Tails web interface, we're going to select PVE, drop down the side menu, and go to your local drive where you store all of your ISO images for your virtual machines and containers. At this point, we're going to click Upload. We're uploading an ISO image and select File. Now, my computer, for some reason, isn't showing my Tails image here in my download folder, but that's all right. We can hit Show All Files, and you see that we're now in our Downloads folder. Under the Tails ISO folder, we're going to select the Tails AMD64 image and click Open. At this point, we can click Upload, and the image begins to upload to our server. There we go. Tails has been uploaded. Now, to set up our virtual machine, we're going to click on Create Virtual Machine. We need the node we're going to use is PVE. Our virtual machine ID. Now, this number can vary to whatever you need for your machine. I'm going to set this to 101. And then we name this whatever we need. I'm going to call this Tails dash setup today. Next, our operating system is going to be Linux. We can select our version if we need to. We stored this in local, and we can pick our Tails ISO image here. Click Next. Default graphics card. All this can be fine. 32 gigs is way more than we need, and I don't want to store this on my storage partition. I want to store this on my local LVM. We can just make this, say, 5 gigs. Tails is an ISO. It really doesn't even need a hard drive image, but if you create one now and give it some space, it'll give it something to work with if so needed. And the way that Proxmox makes virtualized hard drives, this doesn't really take up any more space in your drive. This is more or less just telling it drive size, and it will it'll stop you from going over that size if ever needed. We're going to give this 2 cores today. Um, Again, I don't really know if we need that, but it's good to have. I'm going to give us a around 4 gigs. 4,000 isn't quite 4 gigs, but it's close enough of room. Network, just my default bridge will be plenty for us. And we make sure our settings that we set are correct. And we can finish our tail setup. Now you can see we made it here. So now that we have this set up, we just hit start and the virtual machine will start. To view the display, we can just hit console. Tails is starting up. We don't want to start up in troubleshooting mode, so we can press enter. It'll be just a minute and Tails will be running. All right, so Tails wants us to select our default language and our keyboard layout. This all looks correct for me, so I'm just going to press Start Tails. Now Tails is going to synchronize to our system's clock. This is done because Tor requires a accurate time to work correctly. Okay, Tails is booted up and loaded. Now Tails is if you don't already know, is a operating system designed to securely browse the internet. So if we click here under applications, we can see there's a few different things we can do with Tails as far as an operating system. And they have like built-in word processors and a few other things that you can use. But the main feature of Tails is web browsing. And there you have it. There's Tails with a web browser running. And if we go to duckduckgo.com, you can see everything's working. We can even try a search for UFOs, whatever you like. But there you have it. There's a working VM of Tails on a Proxmox virtualization server. Now, this is kind of nice because no matter what machine you're on your house. Say you have multiple desktops and laptops, maybe a Raspberry Pi, or even you're traveling and you have a VPN connection back to your Proxmox server. You can load Tails as a virtual machine and not ever have any evidence of it on your system, or even store it. Like today, I'm using a MacBook Air that's got very limited storage, and I don't want to have all of the stuff on this computer to run VirtualBox and run an image, but I want to securely browse the internet and have an operating system that I know has as much as many features for anonymity as possible. That's where Tails is really nice in this day and age where companies are trying to track our every move and learn as much about us for their own profit. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial of setting up Tails on a Proxmox server, and have a good night.